Brake mass.
Brake mass.
Want us to start from fresh?
We're going to start from fresh after we go over the end bit of this and finish this one up. So we're going to finish this one up, and then we're going to start again.
Doesn't make sense. Lower half.
Doing the lower half again, but a different set of legs. And with the scale note in there too. Which comes in at the end. How many people hate rigging, just out of curiosity?
I don't hate it. It's definitely difficult.
It is difficult.
Absolutely detestable.
But it's difficult in the way that riding a bike is difficult. Right?
No.
It's true. It's true.
Did it get you hated?
And the proof is that the last time I rigged something before this year, when they asked me to teach this class, not this one, but the one from last quarter, was 1998 in a package called Hash Animation Master, and I hadn't rigged anything since then. And when they needed somebody to teach rigging, because the instructor that was going to teach it had to leave, they asked me to do it, and I was like, okay, and I jumped in and I familiarized myself with how Maya does it, and I picked it up like that. So once you learn the basics of it, which you guys have already started to do, the rest of it's easy. It's just extrapolating upon the core basics of what you got, right? So in order to move verts around, you put a joint in there, right? And then if you want all the joints to rotate the same way, you gotta get the local rotation axes there, right? And then you can make things move the joints, add controls and stuff, and then add constraints from the controls to the joints. But the first time you do it, it's all this foreign stuff that you've never experienced before, so it's very scary and very technical, and you're opening up windows you didn't know that there were, component editor and stuff like that. So the whole point of doing the lower legs as a homework and then also doing the lower legs as a midterm is that I want to kind of break the ice with the technical side of it on a project that isn't worth a lot of points so that you can make mistakes and it's not going to kill your grade completely. You know what I mean? Which is why I'm giving you a little bit extra time to finish the homework, right? So it's not due tonight. It's going to be due next week. Your midterm, we're starting tonight. We're going to continue it next week, and it's due the week after, which means your midterm grade is going to be your homeworks that you've done up to this point. So it's going to be your vehicle rig, it's going to be your bone guy, and it's going to be the lower half for the homework, right? So that's only 30 points. So if you didn't hand one of those in, it's too late now to hand it in for points, except for homework 3 that we're going to hand in next week. So if you get a bad grade, you gave you the bad grade. I just wrote it down. But there's a lot of points left to pull out of that nosedive, right? So you could, in theory, get a 0 for midterm. Nobody's getting a 0 for midterm, but you could get a 0 for midterm, and there's still, 70 points left? So you could still get a C in the class, potentially, even if you had a 0 midterm.
That feels bad.
Yeah, so don't freak out yet. But that being said, you can still withdraw with a W if you'd rather.
Can I just pay for it?
No, it doesn't work that way. I've had offers actually, believe it or not. Yes, and I turned them all down, and not just money either. I've turned them all down, so don't even ask. Just saying.
Nice.
Just saying. That didn't work either. All right, let me open up the project from last week.
That's scary.
I thought
Yeah.
it was just a joke that students.
That's
do
crazy.
No, it's not. Actually,
What? Yeah, I did.
I was playing creepy.
yes.
I have a question. This it's like from a job standpoint, but when they give you a character, do they tell you I want to do this, this, and this, or is you just rig it? The way
Sometimes
you want?
both. So his question was, when you get a character to rig, do they tell you what they want it to do, or do you just make it up? A lot of times, design will say they'll give us the story behind the character. Like I just rigged this Pegacorn King character. He's part Pegasus, part horse, or part Pegasus, part unicorn. So he's got a horn and he's got wings, but he's also got a crown. He's got these big long tassel things that hang down off of his crown that he's got on. And they told me basically he's going to wake up every day and kind of come out on this rock and look around, and everybody's going to wave to him or whatever, and he's going to wave back and then go back in his hole. Right? So he just needs to basically walk around. And I rigged his wings so he could fly if they wanted him to fly later. But then they also wanted his tassels to move in a very specific way, so I set those up. So yeah, sometimes you do get very specific requests from design or whoever as to how the character's going to move. But yeah, for the most part, I just make it work and then go from there. Oh, so what we did last week, we have the switch here, but it doesn't do anything yet. So the visibility is all still there, the FK controls, the IK controls. What I did last week, which was a mistake, was I used parent constraints for this. What I want to use is orient constraints. So let's just, don't work on yours right now. Just pay attention to what I'm doing. And we're going to walk through this step by step. So to recap, what we did is we just had these, right? We just had these legs, and that was all we had to start with. So the first thing we did is we went to the side view, right? And we made a joint chain. We started with the hip, knee, ankle, ball, toe, right? So we turn those on. Let me turn the background color.
Oh, the animation wasn't working.
It wasn't working for you?
Yeah, I selected the object too much.
We can take a look at that. Let's see, display, animation, joint size. Cool. Cool. Nice call on the 30. All right, so these are our joints we've got here, right? So after we did the one leg, right, we named it L hip, L whatever, right, left side. Then we went to the front view and we lined it up so that it was in the middle of the leg, right? Then we made sure our local rotation axis all matched, right? So that when you rotate this joint on X, it matches this joint on X, right? So that all the axes are going the same direction. So that when you rotate them all as a group, you know, when you have them all selected and you rotate them, they don't just go all crinkled up, right? So once you do that, so you've got your axes oriented correctly, you've got everything named right, you're going to mirror it, right? So then we grabbed the top joint here, and we went to skeleton mirror joint, which then gave us the right side. And you can set it up. Yep.
The local rotation axis, is that the direction of the pivot of each joint, or?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So what we did is we turn them on for this.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
So I've got all these joints selected. I can go to display, transform display, local rotation axis. Oh, and I have, turn this to all. So I've got it so that Z faces forward on these joints.
Why can you only see it on the right, on the left side?
Because I only had those selected when I did it. You have to actually select the joints that you want to turn it on.
I see the left side. Because I was having problems with that.
So there's the right side. So when you mirror it, it's a true mirror. So now Z faces backwards. So that
fix that before you bind it.
What's that?
You can fix that before you bind it.
We didn't fix that before we bound it.
Yeah, we should have.
We should have.
Yeah, right? Because when you constrain it, it's
I guess that must have been a different mistake that I made. Because when
it doesn't matter if you change it.
well, because when I did the
the left side.
constraint for the foot, it went the skin more.
We can
flipped.
Yeah,
take a
same
look
here.
I figured that's because the local rotation axis was facing
take a look at
the
it.
right one. So
Mine is the same as yours on the local rotation axis part, but.
Okay, so once we mirrored it, right, we got it over here. Then we did the pelvis joint, right, and the cog joint, and then we parented the pelvis to the cog, right, and then the hips to the pelvis.
What's
right?
the hotkey to deselect them?
I'm just clicking off of it.
Oh, okay.
Low tech hotkey. Then we made our controls, which are just nerves curves, right? So we did. I think we did the. Did we do the FK first? It doesn't matter which order you do them in. You can do the FK or the IK first.
I think we did.
The FK first.
Okay. So what you do with that is you parent it to the joint, right? And so let's say I've got. Just do this kind of as an aside over here. Actually, I don't want to use the sphere. I want to use something you can see which direction it's going. Create cube. So let's say I've got this thing and it's up here, and I want it to be oriented this way so that when I rotate it, this local rotation axis stays like that. See how it's pointed that way, right? So what you would do, let's say I want to make a controller for this, right? It's going to snap to this. I'm going to make a circle controller, right? I'm just going to put this down here. I'm going to zero it out. I'm going to call this sample controller, right? So what you do is you have your controller selected, and then you shift select your object that you want to have that drive, right? So this is when we're setting up the controls for the joints, right? So like I want to make that knee thing, but I want to make sure that the controller is zeroed out. So I select the controller first, then the object, and I press P to parent it, right? So now I've got all of these values on that thing that was zeroed out. These values came from this cube, right? So if I zero these out, that circle will now snap to that shape, right? To that location.
If you don't zero out the nerve circle before you parent it, will it mess it up?
Yes, because the reason that this works is because now that it's zeroed out, it's still facing the same way as this box, right? So if I just froze this transformation, watch what happens to the rotation here of this if I freeze this. Modify freeze transformations. Oh, actually, it's parented. Hold on a second. So I'm gonna unparent this now so that it's. Actually, let me make this a little bit bigger too, so that you can actually see it outside of the cube. Okay, so this is zeroed out because it's got all of its values from this box, but it's also parented to this box right now. So when I unparent it, Shift P, I get all these values back, right? So what I want to have is I want this controller to be nice and clean so that these are all zeroed out. If I just grab these and zero them out, it's going to snap back to where it was. So I don't want to do that. And I could grab it and I could freeze my transformations, right? But I don't want to do that because it's zeroed out, but now look at the way it's rotated. It's not rotated the same way it was before. I want its orientation to stay in line with that box. See how that's like this, right? So to get around that, what you do is you take this controller, right? And you go into your outliner here and you duplicate it, right? Remember, duplicate it, put it inside of itself. Make sure you've got shapes turned on here, and then you delete this empty shape right here. So I delete that. So now what happens is I've got the controller, it's zeroed out, but its rotations still face the same way because all of the translations that were on that are now on this group right here that I'm never going to see. So this is the thing that you name GRP, right? And then this is just the control, right? So now, if I select this, these are all zeroed out. Now what I can do is take this cube. Actually, I'm going to do it the way I would do it in the rig. So I've got the controller. I'm going to shift select this cube here. I'm going to constrain, parent constrain it. So now when I grab this, this is all zeroed out. I can move it, however, right? Oh, look how cool that is. And I can make it jump around. And when I zero it out, it goes back to the way it was, right? The reason that you do that is because when you get a character, when you're animating, you want the character to be in a neutral pose. You don't want to have to start an animation of him running if he's like laying down in the rig or something. You know what I mean? Like you want to have a nice clean pose to start from. So that's why that works. Yep.
What's the point of having a group?
The point of having the group is that all of the controls that I had. So let me do it two ways. I've got this one now that's got a group, right? Let me go back a few steps. Yay for infinite undos.
Before your group thing, what else did you do?
So I parented that to this, right? So it's parented, and I unparent it, and I've got all these values on here, right? The group gets rid of these values. It gives those values a place to go. So basically, you've got, you know how your parents tell you what to do usually? It's the same thing in CG, right? So parent tells the child what to do. Right? Just like real life. So what's happening is all of these values are going to go onto the group, which is the parent of the actual controller. Right? And the way that this is set up is I can delete the shape node. Right? So you've got these like selectable things and then the actual thing, right? If I take this and I duplicate it, now I've got two that have the same values, right? There they are. There they are, right? if I take this and I put it inside of the other one, right? And I take this shape right here, which was the curve, the first one, and I delete it. So I'm deleting that first curve, but I'm keeping the parent node of it. All that information goes onto that parent, but now the child, which is my new curve, doesn't have anything on it. Right?
Okay, and then when you go down another subdivision, what's the point of the shape?
What's the point of the shape?
Yeah.
So when I open this up right here,
Yeah, why is
the,
it when...
the shape is what you can actually see.
Okay.
So in this case, it's a curve. In this case, it's geometry. You see the little symbol right here? So that's a curve. That's geometry. This right here, that arrow with the slanted rhombus, or whatever it is, parallelogram, is just to show you it's a different kind of thing. It's an empty node of some sort. In some cases, it's a group. In some cases, it's
Okay.
just a, you know what I mean?
All right.
So all the information goes onto that you never see, but it allows you to have this curve that's nice and clean here.
Okay.
And when you're constraining things, you're constraining them to this curve. The curve is there because it has all the translation information and rotation from the object above it, right? So all of this is putting this in position, right?
All right.
And that's why that works.
So the second part in the group is
Yeah.
the one that needs to be zeroed out.
Yes.
Okay.
So now let's say we've got a whole bunch of these, right? We've got some curves. Okay, so we've got these curves. I'm just gonna see. So we've got these curves, they're in position. I need to get rid of the translation on these. How do I get rid of the translation? Let's call this one A, B, C, and D. All right, so if I want to get rid of the translations, all this information here, but I don't want to screw up the orientation, what do I do?
Don't you zero it out and then move the vertices, or go into what's that?
Put them inside.
You wanna do?
Yes, you put them inside themselves. So I'm going to duplicate this A, right?
Then what does selecting by component type and moving the vertices do?
That makes the object bigger or smaller. So let me get rid of the shape here. So now I've got, this is zeroed out, but it's still got translation. Let me just do this real quick, and then I'll explain what you're talking about. Duplicate this, put it inside itself, delete the shape node, take this, duplicate it. Yep.
When I did that, like control D on one of the curves, I didn't get the shape name.
It might be you had your caps lock key on. That could be. So I need to complete the shape. Oh, you gotta make sure shapes is turned on in the display. So your question was, what's the thing when you select by component type and move it, right? So let's say my mesh is bigger than this control right here. Now I could take this and scale it up, but now I've got values over here on scale, which I don't want. I want to keep those 0. What I can do is I can go into my component mode, select my verts, and scale those up. Result's the same, only now this is still scaled with 1.
Well, what if you move the verts? I mean, does it still have the same effect? Or
Yep, if I take the verts and move them.
Like
oh,
if you
look,
move the
my verts are
entire-
moved. Oh no, my verts, what's up? It's still 0. And it still does what it's supposed to do.
Oh, this is okay.
Yep.
What's the difference between LRA and partition?
What's the difference between LRA and what?
And the partition thing and the not part?
What's the difference between these?
No, LRA.
Wondering if you do that next.
Oh, up here?
Yeah.
So these allow you to select different things. So this will let me select handle objects, joints, curves, surfaces. So let's say I didn't want to select curves by accident, I just want to select polys, right? If I do this, I'll select all this stuff. If I turn off the curves, now I can only select polygons. So it's like an isolation thing. You can turn those on or off. And you can also go all objects off or all objects on, we'll turn it back on. So let's go back a couple steps so this isn't all misshapen and weird. We'll keep it at this scaled up size. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to be able to take this top one, this ring. So this is like if we're doing the FK controls down the leg. I want to be able to, take this top controller and rotate it and make all the rest of them rotate. So what should I do?
Parent them.
I'm going to parent them, yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select not the controller, but the shape, the group, right? And then I'm going to shift select the curve above it and press P. So it's going to parent it. So I'm going to select. Now it's a little tricky because if I just grab this, it highlights over here. But notice that's a different kind of highlight than that. See how bright that is and that's not? This darker highlight tells me that something in this bigger group is selected. So if I do this, you can see how it's like grayed out. That's what's actually selected. Right? Now if you do that and you're not sure, let's say you've got an outliner and you've got like 50 some things in there, which can happen. I've selected this and it's somewhere in this group here. I can just press F and it'll frame it. It'll expand the thing until I get to the part where
Find
it
it for
is.
you automatically.
What's that?
Find it for you automatically.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
So let's see, how far did we get? We got this one. Yep. Did we do this one yet? No, we didn't. Okay, so I want to select the shape of this one, or the group of that one, and then shift select the curve of that, press P. So the shape of this one and the curve of this one, press P. So now when I grab this and I rotate it, oh look, it's awesome, it's moving. These are all still 0. They're getting their movement from the parent, the same way the group worked, right?
Okay, when I did that on my left side, when I would rotate it, the rotation would be opposing.
Opposing.
So I'd rotate it in one direction and go the opposite way though, like the stack
Probably
effects.
something was mirrored when you did it. Your scale might be off. Like your scale may have gotten flipped. So if I change these to like -1, actually it's still working fine. Yeah, I'll have to look at it and see what happened. Something was not right with that. So that's basically what we did last week, right? We made the shapes, we put them on, but instead of just putting them nowhere, we snapped them to the joints, right? And then we can
Can you also go over how when you transferred your nerve circles and transferred the row to the other side, and weren't they were getting placed in different groups or something like that?
They're getting placed in
It was
the
when you duplicated the control and then moved it over to the
Yeah, you're
right
supposed to
leg.
duplicate the group, not the control.
right.
And I believe that it was still like in the group of the first leg.
Oh, yeah, you have
the
to-
right side.
Yeah, you have to
push
pull
it
it out of the group. So if I have this, let's say I want to duplicate this right here, right? And I hit Control D, right? It duplicated it. Wait, did it duplicate it? Yeah. Press F. So I'm gonna hit Control D to duplicate that. Where did it go? Oh, it is duplicating it. Yeah. So it's still in that group. So I need to pull it out of there. Actually, I can just do ungroup, and it'll get rid of that group. Parent, yeah, unparent. So here's my C2 and C3 PO.
And then do you have to go through the same process of doing the constraints to them and everything like that?
Yeah, because if you should put them in position first, like the whole thing, the whole character, and then start constraining things. Because when you duplicate it, depending on if
It doesn't duplicate.
when you do
constraint
duplicate, right, you can also do duplicate special. This is a little more advanced, but you can also do duplicate special, which you can tell to duplicate connections, input connections and input graph. So anything that's connected to that, anything that's parented to it or whatever, all those connections will get duplicated as well. So if I've got something constrained to something else and I duplicate it with connections, it'll constrain that duplicate to the thing that's driving the original.
But it'll still be in a group and it has to be in a group
Right.
also.
Any questions about that? Okay, so after we did that, let me go back to my original. After we did that, we set up the IK for the legs, right? This was a little tricky too, because we made, instead of reverse IK joints like a lot of tutorials have you do, we made a three IK handles on it, right? So we did the hip to the ankle, right? And then ankle to the ball, and then ball to the toe, or to the ball end joint. And what that did is it gave us 3 IK handles. One, let me turn this on. Wait, did I not set those up yet? Oh, maybe, did we not get to that part yet?
You didn't, but.
Yeah, we did.
We did, but I don't think
They
you
didn't
saved
save
it.
it on mine either.
That's messed up. Show all. Oh, you know what? Maybe we turned it off on the switch. Did we turn them off on the switch? What in the heck? It selected the effector. They're there. Oh, you know what? I think maybe we turned off visibility of the visibility off on the end. Let's see. That's weird.
So it's normal if you raise the foot and the squares sit in the floor?
Yeah. So what'll happen is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we didn't connect them yet. So what we're gonna do tonight is finish this rig, right? So we have the groundwork all done. All the hard stuff is finished. It really is. And that was a lot of material to cover last week, which is the other reason why I'm kind of splitting it up. But we're gonna finish it tonight. We're gonna connect these things to the foot. We're gonna do the set-driven keys, so we'll get the ball roll on it, right? So that the foot will peel off the ground. We're gonna get that working. We're gonna set up the visibility of the controls, so that when you have IK on, the FK controls disappear. And when you have FK on, the IK controls disappear. We're also going to set up the actual constraints so that they turn on and off, so that when you're working in FK, the IK gets turned off, the actual controls.
Oh, that's why when I try to move, like from
Yes.
the key, you just move the controllers, but it doesn't move the mesh?
Yes.
Oh, so it's try
Yeah.
to set up.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So we got that far last week, right? So if you're still kind of like not to this point, that's okay. We're going to finish this, right? And then we're going to start over the exact same project, but with a scale control for the midterm. All the process is exactly the same. Only, what's that? But one slightly newer thing where we're going to add a scale control to the whole thing. So don't freak out. It's okay. You'll be all right. Did you have a question?
Where did we stop right before you made the foot box?
We stopped, I think I made the IK chain and I made the switch for the top. The FK IK switch, but then we didn't connect it to anything.
Can we back it up? Wait, can we go over the IK chain?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We are going to actually do that
Again later.
on the second set, so we'll probably get that up then. Yeah.
On our local rotation axis on the right side, you said that we didn't have them corrected to where the x-axis is facing the way we wanted to.
We had Z facing forward.
Yeah, Z facing forward.
Yeah.
So we just pretty much just go in there, click on it, and manually rotate, or is that going to mess anything?
No, you can manually rotate it. So the way you do that is you click on the component mode here, and then make sure you're magnifying, your question mark is on, and then you can grab the local rotation axis if it's turned on for that joint, and rotate it.
And now with rigging all that stuff, it really messed.
It may.
Well, let's see.
Save often.
So your local rotation axis is correct on the right side?
I think so.
Mine's the opposite. Mine's not. I don't know why. So I think you have to like.
I don't know what happened to my. Let me turn my IKs off and see if I've got. Yeah, that's right. That's what it's supposed to do. But before we start, let's get something to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come back at 10 after 7 with your ears on and your cameras rolling.
Right, I'm starving.
Yeah, if you try to do your local rotation.
Some constraints. It goes behind the portal. No. So that's what we're going to do next. Connect the switch to visibility of the controls and functionality constraints. There's a bunch of different ways to do this, right? You can open up a hypergraph and draw lines between nodes and make reverse nodes because you want one thing to be on and another thing to be off. The easiest way I've found to do it is with set-driven keys. So we did set-driven keys the first night. You guys remember what those are? right? So you set something up and you say, if this does this, then key this thing in this position. And then you can change the stuff around and key it again so that when you change this thing changes, right? Remember we did, what did we use? Oh, we used it for the squashing and stretching of stuff. We did it for some of the other things. So I'm going to make set-driven keys for this stuff right now. So the first thing I want to do, I've got my cog control here, right, with my IK-FK switch. When it's 0, I want the FK stuff to be visible and functional. And when it's 1, I want the IK stuff to be visible and functional. I don't want them both visible and functional at the same time. 1, because it's confusing, and 2, because it won't work. If you've got your IKs on, I can't use FK to change this, and the same way, the other way around. So what I want to do is go to animate, set driven key, set. You guys remember this panel? So I want to load driver, which is the cog, right? And I want to load the driven. So for this case, let's do the visibility for the FK control. So this one, this one, this one, and this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So right now the visibility on all these is on. So I want to load driven. So I've got all these. I'm going to select all these. And I want visibility of these to be connected to the FK-IK switch. So right now I've got the FK-IK switch is set to 1. I want this to be 0 for now. And I'm going to key that. So now whenever this is 0, visibility for these other pieces is going to be on. So now what I want to do is switch it so that when this is 1, I want these visibility of these to turn off. So I'm going to select all these pieces again. Right? So I've got all these pieces selected here. I'm going to turn the visibility off. Right? So now I can't see them. I don't have to do anything over here because the IK-FK switch is still going to control the visibility. And I can double check, make sure that this is set to 1 now.
Where is the switch, or how?
We made an extra attribute on this control. I'm going to go over that too. So let me key that. So now when I switch this from 0 to 1, see how they appear and disappear? See that?
You do this after you made the groups within the groups?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how you set up the visibility. How you set up the functionality is exactly the same, only you're going to pick different things for driven here. So we're going to pick the constraints that we're going to make. I blew them away. I have to remake those. But let's do the IK stuff. So I want, when this is set to FK, I want these 2 boxes to disappear. So how do I do that?
You're in the driver first.
You already have the driver selected.
Yeah, select both those and load driven.
Load driven.
And visibility.
Yep, visibility. Now I want this so that when it's on, they're going to be visible. So I can key that. We've got the IK switch and visibility. I'm going to key that.
Switch it to off.
Now I'm going to switch this to off, and I'm going to select these and turn their visibility to 0. And I'm going to key them again here. So now I get one or the other. I don't get both at the same time. Right? So the same way we did the visibility, we're going to connect that to the functionality of the constraints, right? And the IK stuff. So
set-driven key to do like any type of like sets or anything.
it doesn't build anything. All it does is it sets keys. But the keys that it sets are not actual animation keys. I mean, they kind of are, but if I look at the graph editor, here's my curve for my, this is just like as if I set it myself, but I set it with the set-driven key. So what it does is it's a little bit of code that happens under the hood where Maya connects those 2 things, so that when this does this does this other thing. So it's basically like scripting it, but without having to script it. It's all automatic, right? It's like scripting for people that don't like scripting or don't know how to do scripting. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to have my IK-FK switch control the IK handles on my stuff. So I'm going to open up my outliner and find my IK handles. So I've got them here and here. So I want these effectors to be selected. And you know what I should have done? I should have had an FK-IK switch, one for one leg, one for the other leg. We're going to do that on the midterm. We didn't do it for this one. We just have one switch. But sometimes when I'm animating, I don't want both legs to be the same mode, right? Maybe I've got a dude on a skateboard, right? And I want to have his one leg be IK and the other leg be FK for some reason, right? With this current setup, I can't do that. They're either both one or both the other. That's fine for this one, but for the midterm, we're going to adjust that. So we have 2 switches, right? I just noticed that now. All right, so I'm going to select my end effectors, right? My IK handles. And I'm going to load driven, right? And I'm going to select all of them.
I have a question.
Yep.
Everything has to be in that order?
Do it have to be in that order? No.
You can do this one first and then the...
Yep. So what I want to do with this is my IK blend, when it's 1, the IK handles will move the joints. When it's 0, it's like they're not on there at all. So what I want is I want this IK blend to be controlled by this switch as well. So when this is 0, I want my IK stuff to be on or off. So if the FK is turned on, I want my IK to be off. So when this is turned on, I want them to be turned on as well. So I want my switch to be 1. I close this out 1 or 2 seconds. See, I want to select these effectors. I'm going to make sure that they're set to be on. And I'm going to have the IK-FK switch affect the IK blend here. I'm going to key that. Now I'm going to take this, change the switch to 0, select these effectors again. And when that's 0, I want these to be 0. So I'm going to change that to a 0 and key that. So now, just to test this, I can take this and they don't do anything. They're moving, but they're not doing anything. So if I take this and I put the switch back on, and I select my group, now they're moving it. See that? Exact same thing. Now, one other thing I want to do with this, I want to add 2 more things here. I want to add. Let's see. Do I want to add that to this one? Yeah. I want to add a twist function so that if I take this leg, actually, let me back up a little bit. Let me connect this stuff first so that it'll actually do what I need it to do. So let me change this to 0, so it turns on my FK. What I want to do is have this so that when I rotate this, it bends the joints, right? So what I want to do is select the joint, or select the controller, and then shift select the joint that goes with it, and say constrain orient. I'm going to maintain the offset, and I'm going to add that. I'm going to do that for each of these. So once I did it once, I can just select the next 2 things and hit G, and it'll make the constraint for me. So I'm going to select the controller, select the joint, press G. Controller, joint, G.
Wasn't it parent last week?
We did do parent last week, and the reason that I didn't do it now is because some people had problems with it where it broke something, and I haven't gone through their files to see what broke it, but orient didn't break it. So something in that constraint
It was
broke.
the opposite.
The orient worked for you, and
The orient didn't work for me, but parent did.
Oh. Okay, well maybe we'll have problems with this. Let's see. So far it works. Let's see. Controller, joint, G, controller, joint, G, controller, joint, G. Say it with me, everybody. Controller, joint, G. Awesome. Oh yeah. I'm gonna do the pelvis too. Controller, joint, G, controller, joint. This one I want to actually have it move everything with it. So I'm going to go constrain parent, maintain offset add. All right.
It's control G or just G?
Just G to repeat the last function. So
you did orient for
everything.
The COD, you did parent.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's test this out. If I move this, it moves the leg.
Oh.
Those lines are the IK handles that you're seeing.
Okay.
And that's what zeroes everything out, or?
No, that's Maya trying to show me, hey, look, this is still on here. Joins. Let me turn the joints on. So this works. It's functional. Oops, I don't want to select the joint. Let's select this. That works. All is right with the world so far.
Can you do the hip? Change the hip? Because
when I parent everything, it moves everything with the hip. It doesn't just move the hip. Is it supposed to do that, or is it supposed to move the hip?
It is supposed to do this because all of those things are parented to the hip. So the only reason it won't, the only time it won't do that is if I switch this back to IK, and now I move the hip.
Oh.
Right, like Shakira, the hips don't lie.
So,
They make it
yeah,
shake.
so
Yeah, pelvis control. I didn't lock stuff yet. I'm gonna do that next too. I'm kind of a little bit all over the place here. Let me kind of get this back to where I need to be. Set this back to 0. So that turned on and off our IK. The FK is functional now. That works. What I want to do with this is I don't want to be able to grab this and translate it because that's going to break it. I just want to be able to rotate it. So what I'm going to do is select my controls. This one, this one, this one, this one, and the pelvis. Oops, I don't want to select the pelvis yet. This one, this one, this one, this one, and then the pelvis. And what I want to do is I want to lock and hide some of these attributes so that I don't move it by mistake, right? So what I can do, and we did this the first night with the rigs that we did, right? The vehicle rigs. I'm going to grab the translates, and I'm also going to grab the scale and visibility, and right click and say lock and hide selected. So what that does is now when I grab this, I can't translate it. If I grab the translate, that's grayed out, right? So I can't break it by accident. And I can only rotate it. Oh, look how awesome that is. You know, I'm going to save this before I screw around and crash it. All right. That happens a lot. All right. I'm going to go back to my cog, turn my my IK back on. Show my show all. Okay. What I want to do here is I want to select my group things here, right, and have the controls actually move the group. So I want my right IK foot control to drive this right foot control. So what I'm going to do is select the foot, then control click the IK control, and press P to parent it. So now when I move this, it moves the IK group. And the same with this one. I'm going to select the foot group, right? This is the one with the IKs on it. If I expand that, you select the foot and then the foot IK control, and press P to parent that. So now I've got this. Look how awesome that is. But what happens if, oh, that's some ugly weighting right there. What happens if I want to rotate this knee, but I don't want to rotate the foot? How do we get around that? We're going to add a twist function to this so we have control over the knee. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both my feet controls, this one and this one, right? And I'm going to go to modify add attribute. This is how we put that switch in there you asked about before. So I'm going to go to add attribute. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me an attribute over here that's custom. So I'm going to go to create, or sorry, modify add attribute. And I'm going to call this knee twist, KNEETWIST. And I'm just going to leave this as a float value, right? So what that's going to, a float is just going to let me pick any number anywhere and scrub through it and it'll pick any number, right? I'm not going to put a minimum or a maximum on it, but I'm going to make a default of 0. I think it defaults to 0 anyway if you don't put a default in there, but I'm just going to put it in there. And I'm going to add that. So what that did is it added this knee twist value here, right? So what I want to do now is I want to take, let me show you what this does here. If I take this foot and I bring it up like this, right? On my first IK handle that I come to, this ball end effector, sorry, not that one. This ankle effector, see how this is the active thing here? On that IK handle, I've got this thing that says twist, and if I scrub through that, it'll bend that knee around. But it doesn't move the foot, it just rotates where that aims, right? What I want to do is connect that aim to that twist value. There's lots of different ways to do it. The easiest way to do it is with the connection editor, right? So I'm going to open that up. This works very similar to set-driven keys, only I'm not setting keys on anything. So what I want to do is I want to load this foot. So I'm going to load the left, right? And then I'm going to select that IK handle that I had, which was the ankle effector. I'm going to reload the right there. Sorry about the screen real estate, but the projector doesn't work if I don't have
When
it.
it's selecting everything else, as a darker blue, does that mean that all that's selected
No,
too? Or
it's
is it
just highlighted because this thing that I've selected is in all of these groups.
Okay.
If these were all selected, they would all be bright like that, which they're not. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to connect the twist value of the IK to the knee twist that we added. So if I scroll all the way down here, I see this knee twist. This connects the same way the set-driven key stuff does. So I'm going to click this in the list here, and then I'm going to go down to the twist, and I'm going to click that. So now, what happens is if I grab this, and I move this twist, it'll twist that thing on the IK. So what this does is it allows that functionality to be all controlled under one thing. So I don't have to hunt through a million things in the outliner to find it. Right?
Before you do that, you do have to make both attributes, right?
Yes, you do have to make the knee twist attributes, yeah.
Is it easier to do it that way, or in a lot of rigs I see they just have like a ball that's in front of the knee?
You can do that too. The problem is that the ball stays behind and then you got to group that ball somewhere. Sometimes I'll do both. I'll have the ball that, what he's talking about is a pull vector, right? So on your, let's make one of those because we're going to do that for the midterm.
Okay.
You know what, let's save that for the midterm.
Okay.
Basically what it is the angle of the, so imagine my elbow is the knee of this character, right? So this knee is going to bend and face something, right? There's this invisible pull vector that it aims at, right? You can make a controller and then use a new kind of constraint here that we haven't covered yet called pull vector. We're going to talk about that tonight a little bit later. What that does is it aims the vector of that angle at whatever you've selected as that object, right? So in a lot of cases they make a little sphere or something out in front of the knee and it'll always aim that knee at the thing. The problem is that when you get the foot in certain positions, it'll flip that around 180 degrees and break it, right? So that's why I don't always use them. Some people like them a lot, some people hate them. I'm kind of on the fence with them. Sometimes I put them in, sometimes I don't. It kind of depends on what I'm doing.
You can put a restraint on it, that way it doesn't do that.
You can. You can set limits on it, but then you're locked into certain limits. The other thing you can do is you can take that pull vector that you made, that knee aim, right? And you can constrain it to the foot so that when you move the foot, that thing moves too.
Oh, yeah.
Then that way, that kind of helps, but still, if you get past a certain angle, sometimes it'll flip. You just gotta watch out for it. All right, so where are we at here? Let me get this back down to, does it still work? Let's see, did I hit undo too many times? I did. Knee twist to twist. Cool. All right, let me get this back down to 0. Same thing with this leg. I want this to drive the twist there, so I'm going to reload left, which is going to put the right foot control there, and then I have to grab the right ball effector, right? So I have the right side, I got to reload right, so now I've got the right one there. Scroll down, knee twist to twist. Just test it, knee twist. Ooh, I grabbed the wrong thing, didn't I?
You got them all?
It did. Why didn't somebody warn me? You just wanted to watch me fail, didn't you? I see how it is. It's all right. I didn't do your grade yet. All right, so I've got, let me put this back up again. General editors, connection editor, reload left. And it was the ball? No, yeah, ankle, there we go. Reload right. So I'm going to scroll down here, knee twist to twist. And let's test that out. Knee twist. Awesome. Awesome. Everything is going according to plan.
Did you put that foot roll in?
Yes, that's what we're going to do next. We're going to do the foot roll. We put the foot roll in last week, but we didn't connect it to anything. So we added that attribute that says foot roll. Right now it doesn't do anything. We're going to make set-driven keys that are going to let that foot roll up and down. But let's see. I've got this working. This is working. Right? Yeah. I've got the switch working. Right? These are just rotated. Awesome. So yeah, I guess now we're ready to do the foot roll. Any questions up to this point? I know it's a lot of stuff, but it's a lot of little steps. So if you kind of keep that workflow in your mind, I know last week it was totally new, but now you've kind of messed around with it enough that, or you should have anyway, that it's kind of, you've got the workflow kind of worked out. We're going to do it again from scratch tonight. But are there any questions on this rig at this point before we do the foot roll? Awesome. All right. So what we're going to do with this now is we're going to add the foot roll. And for that, we're going to use the set-driven keys. So when we made the groups for the feet, for the IK, where'd he go? I'm still here. It's okay. So you've got your foot here, right? What I want to do, here's the ground. What I want to do is make it so that when the character's walking, right, this kind of lifts off the ground. Right? So the toe will stay planted, but the heel will peel off the floor and give you that shape. Bipedal characters do like a heel to toe walk, right? That's what we want to have happen when it goes forward. And when it goes backward, we want the foot to kind of just have the heel on the ground. Those lovely illustrations. Alright, so that's what we want to make. That's what we've got by default. We want this to be 10, right? If we added the foot roll, we had a maximum of 10 and a minimum of minus 10. We want this to be the positive 10 and this to be the minus 10. It really doesn't matter which one is which, but you want it to be consistent. If you do it, this is 10 on the one foot, you want that to be 10 on the other foot. You don't want the opposite. Alright. So, for this, what we're doing, for this to work, your pivot points of the groups needed to be in the right place. And we did that last week. But just to refresh, let's look at these. Alright, so what we did is we made a bunch of groups, right? For our 3 IK handles. So we grabbed them all and we grouped them and we made that L foot. Then we grouped that again and we call it left heel pivot. Then we grouped that again and we made left toe pivot. Then we grouped just these two and made it left ball pivot. And then we moved the pivot points of those groups to the different parts where the joints were. So on the left foot here, the left foot pivots, the left foot is this whole group, right? It pivots from where that ankle is, right? So it pivots from that exact part of the joint. And to get it to snap there, you hit insert, right? And you hold V and it'll snap to a vert or a center point on an object, right? Then we did the heel, and the heel pivots from where the geometry touches the ground right there. Now this geometry cuts through the ground a little bit. That's all right. I put it right about the end of the foot. That'll work. Toe pivot, that's at the front of the foot. It's where the toe is going to pivot from in the front. So these correspond to where the joint is. So I want it to pivot right from there. And then the ball pivot is right in the center here. And what the result is if I grab the ball pivot and I rotate this, the toe stays locked on the ground, but the heel starts to peel off the ground. If I grab the toe pivot and I rotate it, the whole foot comes off the ground. And if I grab the heel pivot and I rotate that, the whole foot comes off the ground the other direction. So that's where your pivot points really make a big difference. Because when I group these, by default, it puts the pivot dead center of your scene, which isn't going to help anybody. It's just going to break. Right?
If you lift that with the arrows, is it going to mess it up?
If I lift it with the arrows, it'll do that, but I didn't make these to lift them with arrows. I made them to just do rotations.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 'cause that was
so
doing
now
that.
it's outside of the box, but the box will still move it because it's moving that group, and yeah, it's all going to end in tears.
So those points are actually the points for the arcades.
Yeah, but these aren't the points for the IKs. These are groups that we made that the IKs are inside of. So we grouped the...
And then move this, okay.
Yeah, so we made a group. The same way we did with the controls where we made a group and then that thing sits inside of it. We made groups and moved the pivot points of those groups so now they move the IKs, which moves the joints. And the pivots match where the joints are. Now, if you look at a lot of tutorials, I would say probably 90% of the tutorials you'll look at online, if you look at them, they use reverse joints in there, which you can do it that way. This is the exact same thing, but without using joints, which I think is a little cleaner solution. It's a little more confusing maybe because these are actually like invisible things you can't see, but if you keep track of it and you look at your outliner, it'll be okay.
You can go over that for the.
Yes. Yes. All right. But you know, let's look at it now. Just to, I'm going to draw it on the board so we have it for when we do the. So we've got the joints here. We've got your ankle joint. And this goes up to whatever. You've got this, right? And then you've got this. Those are your joints for your foot. And then you've got your foot group is pivoted from here. Right? And then your heel pivot is back here, right? Where the mesh is. Right? And then your toe pivot is from up here. Right? And then your ball pivot is from right there. And then your, that's it, right? Ball pivot, toe pivot, heel pivot, foot. Yeah. I'm going to turn the lights on so you guys can see that. If you want to take a picture of that, it's probably a good idea. I'm going to take a picture of it too. You take a picture of it. It's like Inception. Wow. I just want to say that I learned how to do all this stuff in a time before cell phones and the internet. It was way harder. Just saying. Okay. Turn the lights out. We just had giant bells we had to ring for help if we needed to. Clang, 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 clang. Jimmy needs help. Let's go. Although I did go to school in the Amish country and it wasn't like that. All right. So what we want to do now is make set-driven keys, and we're going to connect the X rotation of all of these things to the foot roll value that we set up on this thing, right? So how do I do that? How do I make a set-driven key? Animate, set-driven key, set. So I want to load this foot, load driver, and then for driven, I want to select the heel pivot, toe pivot, and ball pivot, and load driven. And I want to connect the foot roll to the rotate X value of all of those, right? So when this is 0, I want those all to be 0, which they are. So I'm going to key that. Now when this is -10, I want it to roll back on the foot. Let's say. So I'm going to select just my heel pivot. I'm going to rotate this back to a point where it doesn't break the leg. So maybe right about there. That looks good. Right? And what I mean by break the leg is when I pull this back, watch the joints in the knee. Pop, pop, pop. You see them go straight like that? You don't want that. If you do that in real life, your ACL breaks the back of your leg, or you tear a tendon or something. So you want to always keep just a little bit of a bend in there, and then your animation will pop. So that looks good. I'm going to key that. And I know I didn't do anything to the rotations of the other ones, but that's okay, because I don't want it in -10. So if I grab this again, we can test it. Beautiful. All right, so now I want +10 to be pivoted this way. So I'm going to grab just the toe pivot and rotate it up this way. That's some crappy ass weighting right there. I gotta fix that eventually. But anyway, now see that there's the flip I was talking about. You don't want that.
Why is it doing that?
Hurts. It's when the angle gets too great, the IK to solve flips it around the other way. Now the pole vector thing, the knee vector thing that who mentioned it? You mentioned, somebody over here mentioned it. You mentioned it. That would fix this to some degree. So we are going to put on the midterm one. For this one, we're not. So I'm just going to back this up until it's right before it breaks. That looks good, I think. I'm going to key that again. So now to test this, go to foot roll. Ooh, ooh. Beautiful. But I need this in-between part where maybe at like 5, the toe is still on the ground and just this part's lifted up. So what I want to do is on 5, I've set this to 5, right? The foot roll value. I'm going to go to toe pivot, and I'm going to 0 that rotation out. And I'm going to select the ball pivot and rotate that up. So now I've got, if I turn off the X right here, you can see I've got the toe still on the ground, but the heel's peeled up off the floor. So I'm going to key that. So now, when I scrub through this, this is what I get. Right? Which is what you want. However, Maya tries to help you, and actually I think in 2012 it does a pretty good job because it's a little smarter about how it makes its keys. But what I want to do is I want to select my groups that I set those keys on, the set-driven key, and open up my graph editor and just look at my keys. And I think I'm going to take these and get rid of that ease in and ease out. I'm just going to make them linear tangents. This one too. Because I can control, I want to be in control of when these ease in and ease out. I don't want Maya to help me. That looks pretty good. So now we just have to do the other side. So in order to do the other side, it's real easy. This is what you do. I'm going to load the driver, right? Because now I'm doing the right side. And then I'm going to select these, right? And I'm going to load driven. Now it's the right pivots. I want the foot roll to connect to the rotate X, right? I'm going to key that to start with because I know that this is already 0. And I haven't done anything to the rotates on the other one. Now to get this to actually work, all I have to do is set this to 10, right? So I'm going to set this one to 10. And then just match my rotation. So on the left toe pivot, it's 66.296, right? So I'm just going to go to my toe pivot here, 66.296. And now it's the same. Right? So I'm going to key that. It is. Ow! I'm going to, oh, did I close that other window? You did. What a jackass. All right. What? It was set driven key, right? Yeah, set driven key set. Oh, look, they're all still there. But my pivot, I need to set all these. Load driven, this, and this. Rotate X, that's already on foot roll. Key. All right, so now when I bring this down to 0, awesome. Let's set this to -10, which I just did. We set this one to -10 so I can get the values. So there's -10. I know I just did my heel on that, so I'm going to select my left heel pivot. That's -39.142. These numbers don't matter. Don't write this down and be like, he said 39.142. Like, it's irrelevant. Like, whatever looks right on your rig is what's right. So -39.142. I'm going to set the same thing on my right heel pivot. -39.142. I'm going to key that. So let me test that. Beautiful. All right, now I need to do the 5 one, right? So there's my 5. I need to get my my toe pivot is zeroed out, and my ball pivot should be 39.88. Of course, 39.88. And usually when you're doing this, you don't have to move all this crap all over the screen just to look at it. But I have to work this resolution and the projection doesn't work. All right, so the last thing I want to do is test that, make sure it works. Ooh, beautiful. All right, now what I want to do is select my pivots and stuff, and go into my graph editor, and I just want to make these all linear so that I control if it eases in or out, not Maya. Maya does what I say, not the other way around.
Yeah, I think that's the new 2012 thing, is that it wants to control all these and
Yeah.
even the turntables,
Mhm.
which is annoying.
Yeah. We're helping you. No, you're not. All right, so that's what I've got now, and we're pretty much done. We've got the cog control, right? We've got the hips. We can translate this down a little bit. Bend it over a little bit. Now shake the hips. Coochie coochie. All right. We can check the roll here. Foot roll. Ooh, it breaks like crazy up there. Knee twist, will that fix it? Something like that. We need to test our IK switch. That works. Let's get this and this. Cool. Okay, the last thing I want to do is fix some of this stuff that I could break by accident if I'm not careful. So I'm going to select the pelvis. Oh, I already got rid of that lock and hit selected. This one I'm not going to mess with the scale or the visibility. So I'm going to lock and hide selected on those. And even though I'm not going to do those, I might want to get rid of them so that if I hit S to set a key, right? If I put those back on and press S to set a key, it sets keys and all that stuff, right? Which when you're in your graph editor, you don't want to have to dig through all these things if you don't have to. I know I'm not going to ever set keys on this, right? I can just get rid of it anyway. So lock and hide selected on that. And then these I already did. Those are good. I think I need to clean up the FK feet a little bit. Let me turn that switch back on. Here's the feet controls. Let me get rid of that scale and the visibility. Lock and hide selected. So how do I get those back if I got rid of them by mistake? Like, oh crap, I forgot to do the visibility thing and now it's not there. What do I do?
Call you.
Yes. What you do is you go into, let me show you how to get them back. I'm going to turn my switch back on. Like, oh no, I need visibility, but it's not there. Whatever shall I do? I'm going to go to General Editors, Channel Control, right? That was me when I was a kid. My dad was like, put it on channel 11. And I went up and I would push the button on the TV. Actually, not the button, I would turn the knob, because it was old school TV with the vice grips on the UHF side. You're like, you know what I mean? Like all the thing. And then like the handle would break, so like my dad had vice grips in the TV. And
You had to have that little tuner
and
around.
and the top one was like, ka-thunk, ka-thunk, to turn to the top station. And there was like a coat hanger screwed into the back so it would work. And I had it set up with my Nintendo too, so that you could switch between. Yeah.
The mysterious lines that
Old school. Yeah, you gotta like stand like this with like tinfoil so the TV to come in. Anyway, channel control. I'm gonna grab the, what were we, the scale, right? Or no, visibility we wanted to get back. Whatever. It works with any of these. So I'm gonna grab the scale, move it over, boom. So now it's here again, but, oh no, it's gray, I can't set keys on it, what's wrong? It's cool, just right click and say unlock selected. And it's like it never happened. But I want it to happen, so I'm going to lock and hide selected. Boom. It's gone again. All right, that is it. So this is what you need to hand in next week.
That's not too bad because we have the video now.
Yes. I think somebody recorded last week's class too. And with the
Yes.
exception of...
This guy.
Okay, there you go. So everybody kick him like $5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Dude, you're going to make bank.
Yeah, but I think when they move it to your outbox, to your inbox, they just keep the last video, so I have to put it back. They are 5.
Way to go, you guys.
Final
From the
installment.
inbox, the person who moved from the transfer drive to the inbox.
No, it wasn't in there. It was only 4. 'Cause I put it in the inbox.
Oh, okay, they were 5.
Yeah.
The mystery lesson, the lost lesson.
Exactly.
That's where I showed you how to make all the cool stuff.
That was the last one.
We are going to do it again from scratch tonight. So if you missed it, and I'm going to go a little faster tonight since we already covered all of this. There's going to be some spots where you might have questions, and I'll slow down a little bit. But I'm going to try to plow through it pretty quick so that we can get through it. And we are going to work on this next class as well. So we may not get through all of it from scratch again tonight, but we'll do the same thing where it's half and half. So what you're supposed to hand in tonight, hand in next week, right? Now that we finished this rig and you see how it goes, right? It's still only 10 points, but now you've got a little better understanding, I think, of how it all works. Because we plowed through a ton of stuff last week, and I know it was a lot to go through, and everybody's mind was jello. I went home and went right to bed. I was like, oh, this is crazy. So I wanted to cover some of that, loop back a little bit. We're going to start over with a new set of legs, which I have for you tonight for the midterm. The blue ones, yes, the blue legs. Yeah. So we're going to start that tonight. We're starting that one tonight. We're continuing it next week. It's due the week after. That one's worth 20 points, not 10. Right? Any questions? Yes.
Okay, I'm still not completely sure about the difference between IK and FK.
IK is when I grab this bottom here, right, and I move it. See how it moves the whole leg?
Yeah.
IK stands for inverse kinematics. It's used a lot on legs so that if I want to have my character standing there and then he bends over, you don't want his feet to go through the floor. You don't want to have to worry about it. So they're getting acted upon inversely by the floor, right? FK, when I turn the switch to 0, now they're getting all their motion from up above the chain. So when I move this down, his legs move with it, right? So everything, if I move something on the top, it's going to move everything down the chain. See that?
Okay, so if he jumped and he's in the air, then that's why there's
The switch, so you can do the IK, yeah.
Okay.
To FK, yeah. So what I use that for is when I have a character jumping, if I want to have him fly through the air and I don't want to have to grab every little thing and move it, because that's pain. And a lot of times you'll get stuff where the IK handle, you tried to match the animation, but you didn't quite do it, and you'll see the arms kind of like pop and lock, right? Like they're mime in a box or something, you know what I mean? Which if you're animating a mime in a box, IK is the way to go. For the most part though, you're not supposed to use IK. I shouldn't say you're not supposed to, you can do anything you want to. I don't use IK for anything when it's freestanding and it's free moving, right? So like the arms, if they're not touching anything or holding anything, they're always FK for me. That's the way I like to work. Because I don't want to have to try to pose it every time and like get weird bends and the stuff. Because like even though you might move the hand where you want it, now the angle of the solver is doing some weird thing and you got to go in and twist that down. So now you're like counter animating when you should be worried about, does this pose look cool? You're worried about like, how's this angle? You know, it's a bunch of crap. So I only use that if I'm going to have the character grab onto something and, you know, react to it.
Okay, I was kind of confused. The reason why I was confused is because I'm in character animation this quarter as well, and it seems as if there's no IK on the characters that we've been.
That is quite possible.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to turn them on.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, it might be on there and you just have to turn the switch on.
Gotcha.
That could be too. What rig are you using, do you know?
What rig?
Yeah, what do you have for character animation?
The one that we.
It's a full body.
Yeah, the full body one. The one that we put the bond, the first class.
Oh.
It looks like the other half
Oh,
of
okay.
this guy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can look at the rig and see. Who do you have for the class?
Sam?
He should be able to show you where the switch is.
Yeah.
Just ask him. I don't really know that rig. I just took it and then ripped it in half to get the legs.
Oh, okay.
That's where these came from. Any questions about anything before we break for coffee and then hit it up fresh? No? Do you guys feel a little better about this now than you did in the middle of class last week?
Yes.
Okay. Good. That was the whole point. There were a lot of concerned faces when I left last week, which I get. It is totally new and very alien to a lot of you, which is, it's totally understandable. It's a new thing. A lot of you have never done this kind of stuff before. It is very technical. If you name something wrong, it can break. But do you have a question?
I just want to show you some of the mistakes and problems I'm having.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's break for coffee, and then we'll come back at 8:30, and we'll we'll do the lecture for a bit, and then we'll do lab at the end of class. So we probably won't get very far in the start over part before we go to lab. But I want to get you guys actually working on this in class so that as you hit problems, you can get them addressed. Yeah, while I'm in the room. And only like 2 people emailed me out of a class of however many are in here, 25. But I know there are more problems than just 2 problems. So don't hesitate to email me, right? I gave you like 3 email addresses and my phone number. Like,
Actually, that was week 1, so I don't have those.
aha, that's an important reason to come to class. Also, to check the outbox for the syllabus, which has them.
That's weird.
Ah.
Yeah, the syllabus didn't have it.
Oh, the syllabus only has my school email. The director's cut of it has the full thing. Because they don't want us to put our other contact info on
Actually,
it.
the syllabus that I
Yeah, it has
Some
some
of it's
Really?
different name.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
Nate Webb, did it really?
Yeah,
Where'd you get the syllabus from?
the My E class.
Yeah, I didn't set that up. They put that in there. The syllabus where you should grab is the outbox for the class.
Yeah, it was a completely different person.
Yeah, and different setup for everything. So let me give you my email addresses again so you have them. School wants me to give you just my school email, but I don't ever really check that. Midterm, legs. Where departments? Boom, save. All right. For this, I'm only going to do what you tell me, unless it's the wrong thing, and then I won't do it. I'll just go, and we'll do it that way until we get the whole thing rigged. All right? Because we already did this once. So what should I do first?
Joint tool.
Joints. Yes. Good one.
Before that, shake
Place it on its own layer.
Yes. Good one. So I can select this, make a new layer, make sure I've added this, add selected objects. Cool. I'm going to call this character geo.
That doesn't work.
If it doesn't work, what do? Do it again until it works. It just worked for me. You just select it, right click, add selected objects. Sometimes, for whatever reason, Maya, even though you haven't selected, you make a new layer, it'll freak out and won't put it there. Then you can just select the thing, you already have the layer made, right click and say add selected objects, and it should go. Alright, so now what do? Go home! No. What do I do now?
X-ray.
I'm gonna go to X-ray mode, yeah. Shading, X-ray, wireframe on shaded, so I can see where the subdivisions are.
Couldn't you just click the little box, the cube with the wire?
Yeah, but I'm old school. They didn't have those boxes in the 90s when I first used this program, so I don't use those. I'm gonna go. You could do that. You could.
Yeah, whatever.
If you like things that are easy. Just kidding. All right. So this looks good. I'm going to. What do I do first? Grab my joint tool, right? And let me just see. Holy hell! Joint size.
0.3.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, 0.3. Because the last rig was jacked and this rig's jacked in a different direction. Alright, so I hate working at the super low res. At work, I've got 2 giant monitors that are super tiny type and I can see all kinds of stuff. And then I come down here, it's like looking through a porthole trying to work. Alright, so I'm going to set my joints up first. I'm going to have my hip, then knee. I'm going to bring the knee out kind of forward. Oh, this is going to be craptastic trying to work with this color. Let me change this to template. There we go. And then ankle, right?
Size 0.3.
Then ball, right? And then end of the
Display.
toe.
Okay, animation.
And hit enter.
Joint size.
And I just want to, I'm going to take this top one and back it up a little bit so that I get a nice bend out of this knee. Yes, I want to name them next. Alright, so this is going to be L underscore hip underscore joint, right? The reason that I put joint right in the name is because sometimes when you're in a hurry later, when you start to make your controls, you'll just name the control left hip. And if you've got a joint named left hip, sometimes Maya will let you do that because they're not the same type of object. They're two different objects, but they have the exact same name. If you're running any kind of scripts, like an exporter, an animation exporter to get this into a game engine, it'll see both of those names and it'll freak out, and it'll just say, oh, I can't do it. But it won't say why, it just won't do it. So then you spend like
3 hours.
3 hours, yes, exactly, trying to fix it. That's the kind of thing you only do once in your career. And then you think back to, remember that time that I couldn't go anywhere or do anything because of stupid Maya? Yeah, that's what happens. Left hip, L underscore knee underscore joint. Then L underscore ankle underscore joint. And then this is going to be ball, L underscore ball underscore joint. And I'm going to call this one toes. What? Yes, I am. Toes joint. Just because it's easier to remember than ball end. When I think of ball end, I don't think of my foot being where that would be. So I'm going to change the name to toes. Alright. So now what do I do? So I've got the joints in there.
Adjust their
Move it to the
orientation.
Everybody at once, shout out something. Go to the front. I'm gonna move this over.
Oh, first you select heat. Select minus heat in the MEL.
What?
Not the select minus height in the
Oh, that was to move the whole hierarchy. I didn't want to do that. This is why. If I grab this and I do select dash HI, move the whole hierarchy, I get double transforms. Because not only am I moving this joint, but I'm also moving this joint, which is apparent to this one, and I'm moving this one, which is apparent to this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And when I have them all selected and I move them, they freak out. So that's why you don't do select hierarchy there. I'm glad you said that. That was a learning opportunity. That's what you call that in teaching, in case anybody ever asked you. That's a learning moment, everyone. The star across the screen. Alright, so I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to take this knee. I'm going to move it over here. Take this ankle. Get this there. Get this over here a little bit. Cool, that looks good, I think.
Now it's LRA.
Now it's LRA time. Now is when you do the select hierarchy. Select dash HI, select my hierarchy. I'm going to turn on my whatcha-who-jigger. I'm going to hold Control and Shift. I'm going to go to modify or display, transform, display, local rotation axis. And when I'm holding Control and Shift and I click a button in the menu, it makes it on my shelf there. So now I don't have to hunt for it, I can just do that. So I'm going to grab the top joint in the hierarchy, select
What is that?
dash
Display what?
HI.
Display, transform display, and then local
Okay.
rotation.
Yeah,
axis.
display, transform, display, local rotation axis. Let me hit local rotation axis, and they're all screwed up. Awesome. So there's a couple different ways to fix this. What we need to do is we can't rig it like this, because if I select this, and this, and this, and I rotate them,
Question.
derp, 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 I'm running.
How do you
I'm gonna fix that. What?
How do you add local rotation axis to your custom toolbar?
Hold Control and Shift, and then with those pressed down, then you select the thing from, and this will work with anything. You can select anything, and it'll just make a button of it.
All right.
Hey, look, Prune membership cluster. Like and it has icons for a lot of these, so you can kind of tell what they are. And then you're gonna want to save your shelf when you're done. Save your shelf.
How many shells can you save?
What?
How many shells can you save?
You can save as many as you want, and if this tab thing fills up, it'll make a little arrow that you can scroll down to the next row.
What is the
You can save a lot.
type of-
All right.
Do you select hierarchy?
So I'm gonna select my hierarchy here. Select dash HI.
Dash is be in front of H.
Skeleton. I want to orient joint.
Not first.
I always blank on this. I'm just gonna say orient. See what happens. Okay, nothing good happened. Orient joint. Primary axis. I want it to be. Oh, you know what? Let me just do one of these. Orient children of selected joints, so that it'll just do all of that. Let's see what that does there. It doesn't do anything. You know what? Let me do it this way. modify freeze transformations. I'm going to go to the joint orient. Freeze transform. Now they're oriented this way.
Much easier.
Z forward, X down the side, which is what I want, and Y up and down the joint.
Translate only or rotate only?
Rotate. No, what I did was modify freeze transformations, and I have only joint orient done.
Joint orient.
Yes.
Not even normals?
Not even normals. I'm Abby normal.
I know that movie.
Anybody? Young Frankenstein fans? No.
Great movie.
Okay.
Why didn't we do this last time?
We did, didn't we?
Yeah, but we did it manually.
Yeah, we did it all.
Oh, sometimes I'll teach you the long, stupid way first, just so that when we do the good way, you're like, wow, that's way easier, and then everybody's lights will go off, like they did right now. What?
Yeah, you repeat that quick way like super fast.
Okay. Select all the joints. Go to modify freeze transformations, joint orient, freeze transforms. Boom.
Does it work with any, other joints like arms?
The problem is these will work great because I want them to go this way. If I did that and the joints were oriented a different way, it would break them. So what I want to do is that worked okay, but I need to get these other joints. I want these to face down the joint, which it kind of looks like they are. Let me just test them. I want to select my joints here. This one, this one, this one, this one. And this is how you test this. You just grab it and you rotate it and see if it breaks. And they're all rotating in the same direction. Things are looking good, you guys.
Why does yours curl?
Because I selected all the joints and rotated it, so it should curl.
And so you did a select hierarchy?
Yes.
Why
You
is
could
it
do
green
select
then?
hierarchy.
Why is it green?
I
Mine
don't
is
know.
not.
I just selected a bunch of them. And you can't know everything. I selected a bunch of them and just went like that.
Well, see, normally when you select like the top of the chain instead of doing select hierarchy, that's when they all turn green. So
Right.
they normally turn white when.
Well, what I did is I selected this one, and then I shift selected this one, and then this one, then this one, then this one. That's how I did it. I didn't just grab this and do select dash HI, although I could, and I get the same result where they curl. Basically, I just did that to test the rotation axis to make sure they're all rotating the same way. All right? Awesome. So I grab that one, select hierarchy, I'm going to turn off my local rotation axes. I know they work now. These are all named L hip joint. So now what do I do?
Duplicate. Mirror joint.
Yes. Now, one thing you want to make sure, it's okay to have translations here. It is not okay to have rotations or scales other than one here. If there are, you're going to have problems. And you don't want problems.
Translate only.
That's what I tell my kids sometimes when they're being bad. It's like, if you guys keep doing it, you're going to have problems and you don't want problems. Same thing. All right? So I've got this left hip. So what do I want to do with this?
Select it.
Select it. Yeah, I did select it.
Mirror joint.
Go to
Mirror joint. under
Skeleton, mirror joint. I want to go to the option box. I want to mirror across YZ.
Replace.
I want to search for L underscore and replace with R underscore. Now, just to show you something, somebody give me an animal, quick.
Tiger.
Tiger. I can search for L underscore and replace it with anything, and now these joints are called tiger hip joint. So you're not limited to just L and R. You can use that for anything. You can do search and replace, right? Skeleton, mirror joint. I'm not going to replace it with tiger. I'm going to replace it with R. Panda, yes. Apply. Now I've got. Oh wait, I think I applied it twice and I made 2 sets. That wouldn't be good. Let me just move this to make sure. Okay, good. So if they're truly mirrored, when you grab them, they should whoop, woo, like that, right? These will be the same. These will be the opposite. So Y will be opposite. See that? Toe out, toe in. Or like this. Yippee! Hooray! Waha!
Wait.
I'm flying! I selected the top joints in these hierarchies and tested that way. Right? So they're truly mirrored. They are mirror opposites. Like Zomax
Mine's
Attainment
not
from
doing that.
G.I. Joe. What?
Mine's not.
Yours is not doing that. Alright. Whose is not doing that? Okay.
Mirror on YZ.
Did you mirror on the right axis? probably did because they aren't. Delete that. Delete that whole chain. Yep. Okay, select that one again. Go to your mirror joint, go to option box, YZ, behavior, LR, and then hit mirror. Okay, now select your other joint on the other side too. Select them first and then do the, yeah, there you
Well, right now they're on.
Ah!
I have a frozen transform.
go. Oh, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Oh.
After you mirror it, don't freeze your transforms on the other leg.
That's why I did that.
That's, you know what? That's probably what broke half of the class's stuff. When they were like, I'm rotating this and it spins the joint the other way. You guys probably froze your transforms on that other chain after you made it.
No.
You didn't say don't do it.
I'm saying it now. Don't do that. There's lots of stuff I didn't say don't do. Don't pour coffee into your disk drive. That won't work either. But
Yeah, but I know.
that doesn't mean you should do it, because I didn't say to. Alright. Don't do that. How's that? Everybody hear that? Don't, as I have coffee sitting on the computer. No food or drink in the computer lab, kids. Alright. So everything's mirrored, that's all good. Now what do I do?
They create the other joint.
The
Yes,
pelvis.
pelvis. I'm gonna go to the side view, create a joint. I'm gonna put it right here, just cause. I'm gonna call it pelvis joint. And then I'm gonna make another joint, and I'm gonna call this what?
Cog.
Cog joint. Cog joint. Now, sometimes on game rigs you'll have something called a root joint. And that's the very, very top joint on a hierarchy, which is above even the cog. But the root isn't weighted to anything, and it's at the 0 origin point of the scene. And that's just so that the game engine has a point of reference, so that if it can take that character and move it and do things to it in the engine. So that's very important, especially for game art stuff, to have that root joint, or a joint like it. Maybe it's not called root, maybe it's called pivot or something like that, or god joint.
Where do they usually put it? In the head?
What?
The root joint?
The root joint, it goes to the origin, so 0, 0 in the world. So down here between the feet, and it's not weighted to anything. Did I just make that joint? You did? Let me get rid of that. Boom. The root joint would go to right here, very center of the world, and it wouldn't be weighted to anything. It would be in that hierarchy, but when you do your skin weighting, you take all your points and you zero them so that there's nothing on that root. Because the root is not meant as a deforming joint, it's meant as a placement joint. Alright, that was kind of an aside. Anyway, back to the rig. Alright, so now what do? Let me check my local rotation axes of this and this. Cool, they look like they match the other stuff, and they do. Awesome.
What about the left or the right side?
I don't have to do anything to the left side or right side because
I'm at the right side.
they're fine the way they are. Even though they're backwards, they should be. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is, what do I do with these?
You parent them to the pivot or the
Pelvis.
This to pelvis.
Other one to
This
pelvis.
to pelvis.
And cog to pelvis.
Nope.
Pelvis to cog.
Pelvis to cog. Because the cog moves everything,
Pelvis to
and the
cog.
pelvis moves the hips, but not the cog.
Pelvis to cog, right?
Yes.
Why aren't we changing the local rotation axis of the right side?
Because there is no right side, it's dead center. Oh, you mean why aren't we changing it after we mirrored it?
Yeah.
Because if we do that, it's not a true mirror. It's the exact same orientation as the other side. So now you've got 2 left feet.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you can't dance good. Right? 2 left feet. The jokes are free.
Mine is saying that it's not, it won't parent.
What jokes? What'd you say?
Mine is saying that it can't parent.
I call bullshit on that. You probably have your caps lock key on. You must have a different line.
Oh, no, I got it.
Yep. All right.
Except I got it the wrong way.
What? How can you tell if the caps lock key is on?
No, like, what do you mean when it's on?
Oh, so right above your shift key, there's a caps lock key. If you press it, all you can do is use uppercase letters, right? And Maya is case sensitive, which means that it needs to know if it's upper or lowercase, capital or lowercase. So if that's on, it won't do what you think it should. On some keyboards, like keyboards we have here, the little A in the top right corner will be lit up to let you know the caps lock key is on.
So kind of like after I click through the cap on.
Yes, exactly. All right, anyway, so we've got all this parented now. The actual functional part of the rig of what's going to do the work is finished. The joints are what actually drive the rig. At the very bare bones, get it? Minimum, you need to have just joints in there. On Rise to Kasai, our character rigs were this, and that was it. Which sucked, because you animate something, and then you have to go in and like alter it, and you have to basically reanimate everything down the chain from it, because like we animate a run, and then the animation director would be like, that's cool, can you rotate his hips more? So then you do it, and the dude's running like this now, because his hips drive everything above it. So it made you a really good animator because you didn't want to have to do it twice, right? Or 3 times or 4 times, but we would if we had to, right? So you guys live in the future, and you're in a rigging class. So we're going to put a rig in this, which allows you to break parts of it off into separate sections. That's the whole point of this, is to make it so that the animators can make cool poses and make cool stuff and not worry about the tech side of it. That's for you guys to worry about, right? The more often you do this, the easier it's going to get. I mean, I'm not sure, but I think already this has gotten easier for a lot of you based on from where we were at this time last week to where we are now, right? You guys feel a little more comfortable with it at least?
Yeah, this part so far.
Yeah, so there's some like little simple mistakes that were made from multiple people, but I think we've ironed a lot of those out so far. Does everybody see what we've got so far? Right? All right. Awesome. All right, so everything's named as well too, right? Let's look at our outliner. Everything's nice and clean. We've got our legs there. We've got our cog, pelvis joint. On a lot of rigs, and the rigs that we use at work, we'll also make groups for the geometry and a group for the character rig. There are 2 different groups so that if we need to adjust something or we need to strip out mesh but put in a different mesh, we've got it separated out. It's easier to see. I didn't really go into that, but there's literally millions and millions and millions of ways, billions of ways to rig characters, right? I'm showing you kind of an easier way to do things. Depending on where you go after this school, if you go on to do rigging, it's going to be different depending on the needs of the project. So just because we do it one way here doesn't mean it's wrong a different way or it shouldn't be done that way. It depends on the needs of the project and the workflow that's been established, right? This workflow is pretty easy and it lets you do what you need to do, but it's not like the gospel of rigging. Like you can do it however you need to make it function. Except for in this class where you got to do it the way I say because I'm grading. All right. All right, so the next thing I want to do is probably make some controls for this. Or actually, I could probably skin it at this point too. I'm going to skip the skinning part because we did that last week. Everybody got the skinning part, right? Did anybody not understand skinning? All right. I'll do a quick thing on skinning in 5 minutes. Ready? So I'm going to select the cog joint, the mesh, right? Skin, bind skin, interactive skin bind. I'm going to go to the option box. I want to do joint hierarchy. I want to do closest distance, right? That way
Why do you want to do closest distance?
Because if I've got something in the hierarchy that's near it, it may not actually be the closest distance. So even though this part of the leg right here is closer to this in hierarchy, it's closer to this joint in an actual space. So I want it to get weighted more toward that. I want to do capsule. Skinning method, I want to do this dual quaternion. Just cause it works well. Max influences, I'm going to keep that at 4. And I'm going to turn off this maintain max influences. And the reason for that is because later when we paint weights, it's going to try to reflow stuff and drive you friggin' insane. Because it does that. You'll just paint it, you're like, oh, I took all the weights off this, and then you start to paint something else, and it's like, there's weights back there again. And you just want to smash something. So I turn that off. And I'm going to bind skin. There we go, it's bound. So now, if I select my joints, the reason they're changing colors is because I have this capsule thing on, right? I can just go to the rotate here and I can test my joints.
Oh.
That's ugliness, right? So what you need to do is go in and get your weights working. So I can go into this capsule and kind of bring it down. I'm just gonna do one side.
Mine felt bad.
It might not be bad. The capsule thing works pretty well. I'm going to get one side working, and then I'm going to mirror the weights to the other side. That works pretty well, I think. Actually, this could come in a little bit here. Something like that. Looks good, I think. Go to my X-ray joints. There we go. So that's ugly. That's why it was pulling there. So I'm going to pull this in. Maybe move this over a little bit. Maybe rotate it around a little bit. I'm not rotating the joint. I'm just rotating its thing that it affects. Does that make sense? Yes? No?
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. Yes! You guys ever watch SpongeBob SquarePants?
Yeah.
Do you ever see the episode where they've got the band concert?
Yeah.
And they're training everybody? And then SpongeBob's like, you know how sometimes people speak louder to sound intelligent? And Plankton goes, yes! That's a great show. That looks good, I think. Let me test this. Okay, so some of this pulling is because of the other side. Let me mirror my weights. So I'm going to select my skin, edit smooth skin, mirror skin weights. I want to go YZ. I want to do positive to negative. Closest point on surface, closest joint, that looks good. Mirror. Well, let's see if that fixed it. Oh, it didn't fix it.
It might be the way. Sometimes it goes. Last time it was like way down.
Yeah, we got some cleanup to do on this. Let me just do this really quick here. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time paint weighting, but luckily this isn't a very big thing. Edit smooth skin, paint skin weights tool. I'm not going to worry about, let's see, the cog is going to be, the top of this is going to be, remember you press B and you can left mouse to change the size of your brush. So the cog, I want that to affect this top piece here. Pelvis joint is going to affect the pelvis.
How do we get to the paint weighting?
What?
How do we get to the paint?
You go to skin, you gotta have your mesh selected, and then go to skin, edit smooth skin, paint skin weights tool. That'll bring that up. Pelvis joint, I'm gonna hit up this. Beautiful, beautiful. Look at that pelvis.
How do you bring up that?
Got it. Left hip joint, I wanna make sure I get all this in here.
How do you do the brush size shift B?
Just hold B, and then left mouse, and you can scrub through. So if I hold B and I scrub through, it changes the size of my brush.
Me?
B, as in boy.
Boy.
Knee joint. Let me crank this up.
Basically, you're like cleaning it up, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Ankle joint. So I've got a bunch of crap over there that I don't need. So I can scroll down here and change this to a value of 0 and get rid of that so that I don't select that side by accident. Choose back there. There's my ankle. I'm going to make sure I get all that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. And then ball joint is this one. And then toes joint is just the very end. That's good. Does what it needs to do. Now let's test this a little bit. Let's rotate.
When you
this.
want to erase some weight, you lower the value?
Yes. It's like this skin, edit smooth skin, mirror skin weights. Hopefully it did a better job at the time. My F you. So I've still got a lot of stuff to do in here. Basically, all these points are jacked. I think it's not mirroring it correctly either. So I can also paint my weights with this in a pose. So I can go to my ankle joint. Yeah, I got rid of that, I thought. Whoops. You want to change your value, not your opacity. Get that back to the way it should be there.
On another place.
Wait, did you change the brush type?
No, I didn't change brush type. I changed the value.
So I mean, actually it does that?
It'll go back. It goes back because I've moved this joint, and the joint's pulling on these verts, and as I paint them and they change their value, they go back to where they should be. There we go. So that one's not affecting it anymore. Ankle joint is affecting ankle. Knee joint. Hip joint. Now the other thing I can do is just select my verts like this. You know what, let me just do that because it's going to be less of a meeting. See, this is why I didn't want to go over this part of it because it's a pain in the ass. I'm going to go to my front view here, and I'm just going to brute force this. All right, I'm going to select these joints here, or these verts here. Window, general editors, component editor. I know these are going to go to the left hip, so I'm going to go to smooth skins, left hip joint, and flood that. Now they're 100% to that. This is going to go to the, what is that, knee joint, left knee joint, goes down to 1, boom. To the foot, or the ankle, I mean, sorry. Editor, smooth skins, L, ankle joint. Boom. And then this was to the ball. To the toes. So now let's see what that looks like. Probably much better than I did. Alright, so there's verts that are not cooperating. I'm going to make them cooperate. That's going to go to the ankle. This is going to go to the ankle. Actually, this is probably
That's awesome.
These are going to go to the ankle. You guys get what I'm doing here? Everybody not get what I'm doing? I am grabbing the verts and I am making them go to the correct joint.
My vertices selection is kind of weird right now. Just like that.
Wait, what?
How do you know it?
How do you what?
Really
Alright, so now I should be able to mirror this and it should work. If it doesn't, I'm just going to move on.
If you select the vertices that isn't affected and you zero it out, is it gonna like mess it up? Because like you know how you're selecting so many, like if you pick one that's alright.
So it'll break that one. If you grab one by accident that's already weighted to something else that you like, when you change it, it's going to change.
Oh, okay.
But it's real easy to get it back.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to mirror skin weights tool. So this should be good, I hope. Almost there.
So when you mirror skin with the select the mesh
Yeah, this is easily fixed right here. I can take this. Yeah, you just select the mesh. You take this window, general editors, component editor. It's going to go to the right ankle joint. This is going to go to the left ankle joint. Boom. Close. Okay, so we're all weighted. I'm going to save that. That actually didn't take too long. 15 minutes. About.
You want a record?
It's not a record, but it's still good. All right. The basics of the rig are complete. The hard part, the part I hate, is over. The smooth skinning, I hate that. I hate skinning stuff.
Same here.
It's a huge pain. The interactive capsule thing makes it a lot easier, but I haven't done that workflow enough yet to really feel comfortable with it. Do you guys all have digital tutor access? Yes. Dude, what are you doing? You gotta get digital tutor access. There is a great tutorial on there for painting skin weights using that interactive tool, which I still haven't watched yet, but I've heard good things about it. Maybe I should watch it. All right, so let's do the, let's make the boxes for the IK first, because I think that was a part where some people were confused. You could just go to create NURBS primitives cube, right? Oh, there's my cube. But that's like an actual geometry cube. It's NURBS and it's different pieces. So if I grab this, it's different. I don't want to deal with that. What you want to do, this is the easy way. I'm going to create a polygon cube, right? And just make this cube the size of the foot, kind of, right? Bring it up a little bit. And bring it over here. I'm going to shape it a little bit so it's the shape that I want. And basically you want to pick a shape that gives you a good outline of what the object is, but also you're going to be able to tell what it is when you're animating later. And you can easily select it outside of your geometry. So that's pretty good, I think. But I don't want to use polygon as a control. I could, but I don't want to do that because you might render it by accident or something stupid like that. So what I want to do is, I've got this selected, right? I'm going to just move it over here. What I want to do is trace this with a CV curve tool, right? So I'm going to go to create CV curve tool. I'm going to go to the option box.
Oh, right now, actually.
You got it?
Wait, how did you make the box again?
I just created a polygon cube.
Okay.
And made it the size I wanted. And that's just a template for me. I'm going to trace it now with the CV curve tool. So I'm going to go to CV curve tool. I'm going to go to the option box. And I want this to be, the curve degree, I want this to be linear, which isn't going to give it any arc between the points. It's just going to give me a straight line.
How do I go back to selecting the entire object?
What?
I don't really know Maya, so how do I go back to selecting the whole object of the
How to
cube?
select the whole
Instead
line?
of like selecting the edges.
Oh, just select the, let me see where you're at. Do you have a,
Wait, what did you choose?
what kind of cube is that?
Oh,
Polygon
polygon
cube, okay.
So it's already okay.
Move. Let's see. That's weird. It's just selecting edges. Something is weird that you've done. Yeah. You've got like. Let's get rid of that. I don't know what mode you're in or what. But
I held down the right mouse button and then selected
Oh.
edge mode.
Yeah, you should just put the object mode. Sorry, let's go back.
Object mode.
So, right click, object mode. Now you have the whole object.
All right. Like I said, this is just a template for our CV curve tool. So I've got that there. I'm going to go to the CV curve tool. It's linear. If I hold V and I draw, I can snap to the corners of this. So I'm just going to trace around it. And it's okay to overlap.
V.
Yes, V as in vulture.
Let's click again.
Yes. V as in
Vectors.
vector. So there's my cube. I don't need that anymore. Here's my control curve. I'm going to center my pivot on that. Modify center pivot. So now my pivot is in the center of that. I'm going to move it over to my foot.
Curve tool dialog box.
And actually, I'm going to move it a little bit this way so that it's not dead center. That looks good, I think. I'm going to take these points on the end, maybe move them in a little bit so I can tell which side is the front of the foot, which side is the back.
And then hold the B while you're doing that?
V. That's what you hold. I'm going to bring this
Connecting all
down.
the lines over.
So I know which direction is the front of the foot, which is the back, and all that. I'm going to take this and scale them in maybe a little bit.
So it's like,
All right, so let's say I like that shape. I like that shape. Okay, what I'm going to do now, as my screen real estate gets smaller, is take this and duplicate it. And I'm just going to put this on +1. Oh, that was not good to do. Why didn't that work? Why is my axis messed up?
Didn't you make it over, you started on the left?
Oh, yeah, let me do this. Yeah, I think we did. These transforms.
so after you make it, just delete the polygon, right?
Yes. So that's the one I have zeroed out. What I want to do is I'm going to take this pivot point, hit insert, and place the pivot in my ankle.
Where'd you get that to?
Where to get the pivot point?
I just finished making that.
Okay, so select the object, right? And you're going to get the little arrows that come up when you have the arrow, the move tool selected. If you hit insert, you can move this wherever you want. If I hold V, I can snap it to the center of that joint, which is where I want it. So now I need to make the one for the other side. So I'm going to select this object, duplicate it, snap it to the other joint over there, right? Then I'm going to go -1 on the scale X, and that'll flip it. And then with both of them selected, I'm going to go to Modify Freeze Transformations. And make sure that when you do freeze transformations, you have your Translate, Rotate, and Scale turned on. We turned those off before when we were working on the other part of the rig. Yep.
In the dialog box for the CD curve tool, is there anything that you had?
Yes, make sure that you have 1 selected for the
okay.
whatever it is. I forget what it's called. So I zeroed out the Translate, Rotate, Scale, close that. So now I've got this all zeros, and with a scale of 1, same with this side.
You just froze transformations on both of those.
Yes, I froze transformations on both of those. So now what I want to do, let's name these.
With everything checked in the freeze transformations?
Yes. So this one is going to be L_foot control. I'm going to say IK foot control. IK foot control.
That's why.
Because there might be one called FK foot control. And then I'm going to do this side. This is going to be, wait, what did I call this side? RIK foot control. I'm going to copy that. Paste the name here and just change that L to an R. Beautiful. Now what do I do to make sure that I can tell these apart? Change the colors, yes.
Blue and red.
How do I change the colors?
Attribute enable.
Attribute editor, right. So I'm going to select this, attribute editor,
Object display,
object display,
drawing overrides.
drawing overrides, enable overrides, change this one to blue. And then this one I'm going to change to
Red, let's go.
red.
No.
IK
Yes.
foot controls?
Actually, that's a like purplish red. Let me get. Yeah, that's right.
Orange red.
Yes, they're called LIK foot and RIK foot.
God, my
Hit insert.
How do I bring up my action editor?
Hit Control A, or you can just select the little tab over here.
Well,
Or
no,
top.
the tab itself is missing. So
Oh, if the tab is missing, you can go to Display UI Elements and.
well, when I press Control A, it actually brought it up.
Oh, well, there you go.
So it's good now.
All right. Let's see. We can probably put in the rest of our controls here. For now, let's do our. Let's make our controls for the pelvis and for the cog, and then we'll make our FK controls for the legs. But we won't hook any of that up. We'll do that next week. right, any questions so far? Everybody has a pretty good handle of this, I think,
No.
except for Sabrina that left. You'll never notice. I notice everything. Yeah. All right. Let's create a NURBS circle. Create NURBS circle. Drag it on the ground. What? Is wrong?
Never mind. I'll just watch the video.
No. What's up? Because maybe the video's garbled.
Okay, well, I just finished creating my NURB from the CV NURBS, and the pivot is centered at the world.
So go to modify. Up here.
Modify, center pivot right there, and it'll pop it right there. So now you can move it wherever you want it, and then once you have it where you want it, then you can hit insert and move the pivot point so it'll be where you want it.
All right, so I made a circle. I'm going to call this cog control. Where should I put this? Where should I put this cog control?
Oh, on the ball.
On the
ball
cog,
of the
yes.
foot.
I'm going to just snap it up to that.
Or on
Wait, you
the
don't
dip.
parent it up there?
You could parent up there. So this one, you're able to do it a couple different ways. So I just snapped it up there and I was going to freeze the transforms. You could parent it up there. So right now,
That's the
it's
way we
at
work.
0, right? I can select this and then the cog and say P to parent it and then 0 out the cog and it'll snap to where I needed it to be up there, right? And then I'm going to unparent it, right? Duplicate it, put it inside of itself. Oh, yes, I can. Okay, so I've got the cog down at the bottom, right? It's just a curve that I made, right? Then I'm going to shift select the actual cog joint, right? Yes. I'm going to press P to parent it, which deselects the cog joint but keeps the curve selected. So with that curve selected, I'm going to go in here and 0 this out. And it pops to where it should be, right? Now I'm going to unparent it, Shift P, and now all those numbers are back, right? So what I need to do is duplicate it, right? Put it inside of itself, and then expand this. Oh, there's no shapes. That's because you have to tell it to show the shapes in the outliner. So if you try to do this and you're missing the thing that you need to delete, it's because your display shapes is turned off. So just make sure that's checked. And now I've got this control shape here. I'm going to blow that away. I'm going to call this cog control GRP. And this is just going to be cog control.
So the cheap is there anyway, it's not displayed.
Right.
So we
Yes.
have to delete it no matter what.
Yes. Otherwise you won't get that zeroing out feature. that you
Duplicate
need.
cog control, put it inside, so
What?
we're duplicating the cog control right now.
Yeah, we're just doing the cog control right now. So I've got that. I'm going to reshape this cog control a little bit because I don't want it to be a circle. I use circles a lot. So I'm going to grab just these 4 points here and scale them in. Now I know that it's a different shape, so I know that's going to be my cog. And I'm going to select it, and I'm going to change the color to yellow because it's in the center.
How do you change the shape?
I selected the points on the curve by going into component mode right here and selecting this first point here that allows me to edit point components. And then you select it and you grab the verts and you can move them however you want.
Alright.
All right. So just to double check and recap, this is zeroed out. It's up here by the cog. I haven't parented anything yet. I'm just setting up my controls. I've got my NURB boxes down here with the pivot points placed in the ankles so that when I rotate them, they'll rotate around the ankle, which is what I want to have happen later. Any questions about any of that?
I may have some about the boxes, but
Okay.
it's not
Now,
that important.
what I want to do for what I want you guys to do for the midterm project is we're going to make a layer over here called controls, right? And the reason for that is because I want to be able to turn on and off my controls later. so that if I want to select all my controls and key them, they're all in a layer. It's really easy to get to them. So what I'm going to do is select this leg, or this leg box, this foot control, and this cog control, and make a new layer for them. I'm going to change this to yellow. I'm going to call this controls. I'm going to save that. And that way, I have easy access to my controls. I can then grab these and say select objects, and it'll select everything in that layer. So later, if I want to be able to key everything on my character, I can just right click on that layer and say select objects, and it'll grab everything in there, right? Any questions about that? No. Awesome. All right. Let's make the FK controls for the legs, and then call it a night. All right. We won't hook them up yet. Yeah.
Can you go at least to the footer for that? You might end up going for the arcade, but I just want to see the order in which you group and put the feet.
Oh, the foot roll. We're gonna do that next week.
Skin weights tool?
Oh, the order in which we group the.
Yeah, like what goes in the foot roll. So you select, the front joint, the second, the.
Okay. We'll do that right after I do this part. All right. So let's make our controls for the foot, for the FK control. So I want one here that's going to roll this or move this. I want one at the ankle, one at the knee, one at the hip. All right. So I'm going to make nerve circles because they're easy to make. I'm going to zero this out so it's at the origin. Right. And I'm going to make a couple duplicates of this. Duplicate, duplicate. So that's going to be this, that, this. Oops. Whoa, what happened? All right. Okay. All right. 4 of them? Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I'm going to select this joint here and this first one and say parent, and then I'm going to zero this out. Oh, that was the wrong way to do it.
It's the other way around.
Other way around, yeah. Select the object, then select the joint, press P, then zero this out. So that's there.
Where'd you put it?
On this joint right here. Then hit shift. Actually, let me put them in position first, and then I'll go back through and fix them. So I'm going to select the curve, then the joint, press P, zero out the curve, select the joint, select the curve, then select the joint, press P, zero it out. Yeah, I do it backwards every single. I've been doing this for like 15 years now. I always do it the wrong way first. It's like CG dyslexia. Select this curve, select this joint, press P, zero it out. That's in position. So now what I want to do is go through and unparent these, group them and everything so that they work. I don't know why I have all these extra ones. I'm going to delete those.
Couldn't you theoretically just make a whole entire new set for the other half too, instead of just flipping them? I mean.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Wait, did we flip them last time?
Yeah, we did, and that's where I think that I had the problems where it like warped the geometry on the left half.
Okay, let's do this. Let's that control is kind of big. Let's grab. Now I'm not scaling this. I'm not grabbing it, scaling it, right? I'm not doing that. I'm selecting. I'm going to component mode component mode, and selecting the curve verts and set themselves. And scaling those. So I want to bring this in. I'm going to turn off my X-ray mode so I can see that I'm able to select this easily. I'm going to bring this in maybe like this. Maybe I'll bring this one out a little bit. Basically, I'm reshaping these so that I have something I can easily select on that character. So that one's done. This one right here, I can bring this down quite a bit. And basically you want to get it so that they're not going to overlap and stuff, the other side controls. That. This one I'm going to scale these in.
Before you did that, did you unparent it?
No, I didn't unparent these yet.
Okay.
You just made me really nervous when you asked me that. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. I think we're still fine.
You think?
I think. And then this curve right here, I don't want to rotate it, right? I want to keep the way it is, but I'm going to grab the points on it and spin those around so that I can grab that control. So I'm just going to take this, bring these up, probably scale them in Y.
This was so much easier than last week.
You just rotate
Isn't it?
Did you put it
The same thing we did last week, right? Isn't it the same thing? We did the same thing last
But
week.
now we know what we're doing,
Yeah.
kinda.
But now you guys kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like a million little lights went on. All right, so I've got those curves. I want to color these now while I'm thinking about it. So I'm going to select the first one. Enable overrides. I'm going to change the color to blue. Yay, screen real estate. Change color to blue.
You can't do them all at once.
No, which sucks. You'd think you'd be able to. And maybe there's some Maya guru out there that has a trick for it, but I don't know it. Alright, so that's that side. Now I need to unparent these and group them inside themselves and then parent them together, right? I'm going to go to my outliner. I'm going to select my shapes and press Shift P. That will unparent them so they're all separate pieces now. I selected I selected all of my circles, right? So I've got this one, this one, this one, and this one. I know it's hard to see the blue on
What
blue.
if we did that before? Is that gonna matter?
If you unparented them before, no, it's not gonna matter.
Did you select all of them?
Yeah, separately. And I'm gonna press Shift P, which is gonna unparent them. Shift P. And I want to name these now. So this is the ball joint. So I'm going to call this L underscore ball FK control. And this is the ankle. So I'm going to call this.
You don't freeze transform?
FK?
No, you don't freeze transform.
When you unparent?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Because we're going to group them inside of themselves, and that's going to get rid of the transforms.
Oh, okay.
If you freeze the transforms now, later when we connect them to the joints, the rotations aren't going to match up. That's going to break. This is going to be L, ankle joint. This is going to be L underscore ankle FK control. This is the knee, so this is going to be L underscore knee underscore FK underscore control. We didn't. Why didn't we make one for the toe? Because when I bend this, it's going to flop that whole front piece, and I don't really need one for the end of that toe, so I didn't make one. Okay. That toe joint right there is basically just for placement, so we know where the end of the foot is when we do that pivot later. So that's the L knee control, and then this is going to be the hip. So this is going to be L underscore hip underscore FK underscore control. All right, so now what we need to do, we don't want to freeze the transforms on this, right? We want to keep them where they are. Actually, we could, because there's no rotations on them anyway. Maybe we should. Should we?
Should we?
You know what? Let me do the parenting stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to freeze the transforms on them. Let's go.
Why not?
Because I want to keep consistent with the way that we're doing this. And I want to have the group over the thing anyway. And if I freeze the transforms, then I don't need to make the group, but I might need the group for something later. So I'm just going to do it that way now. You know what I mean? All right. So I've got the ball control. I'm going to duplicate it, put it under itself, delete the shape node, call this underscore GRP.
Wait, hold on.
Delete the one there. So now this is zeroed out. Same with this one. This is a repetitive process. It's going to be the same thing every time. Ankle FK, duplicate it, put it inside itself, delete the shape node, change this one to underscore GRP, get rid of the one on that, do the same with this one, duplicate it, put it inside itself, get rid of this, Change this to GRP. Get rid of the 1 on there. Take this, duplicate it, put it inside itself. Get rid of the shape node. Call this GRP.
I can't find one on my.
You probably need to turn on your shapes.
No, I already did that. I think.
You can't find your what?
Like my, I think I missed this. I missed a step, and now it's all screwed up.
What's all screwed up?
Like my left knee LP control. I can't find it.
Press F. There you go.
So
It was parented to your knee still.
Pop it out.
Yeah.
So at one point the controls were parented to the joints, that's how we placed them, and then we unparented them. If you didn't unparent it, you might not be able to find it that easy. Alright, so we've got that now. These are all zeroed out. So if I select the curves, they all show up as zeros.
Wait, how do you get it to show up in your outliner?
Press F and it'll frame it.
While you're over. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Alright, so what I want to do now is I want to do the hierarchy of this. So I'm going to select the group of this one. Right? So not the control, but the group, and then shift select the controller above it, press P. So select the controller, press up to select the group, right? And then select the controller above it, press P. Group to control, press P. So now if I grab this top one and I rotate it, it rotates all of them. Rotates all of them. Awesome. Oh, also, if your manipulators, the things that you use to turn and move and stuff like that, if they're too big or too small, you can press plus and minus and they'll grow or shrink.
I don't like how Maya doesn't let you click through the gizmo.
You don't like what?
How Maya doesn't let you click through the gizmo.
Yeah.
Max does let you do that.
Stupid Maya. Maybe on the newer version you can do something like that. Alright, so now we've got this. Okay, don't do this yet. Let me just see if this is going to work. Let me duplicate this. And -1 for the scale. Just snap it to the other side. And then freeze my scale. Oh, that didn't work because now I've got. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Oh, actually, it will work. Let me get rid of that.
How come when I duplicate them and put them inside of each other, they're not like getting in a group? They just disappear.
They're probably getting hidden in the hierarchy somewhere. So they are in there still, they're just buried. If you press F, it'll find it again. Alright, let me try to do this. I'm going to select this top controller, this hip, and then go up to select the group. I'm going to duplicate the group. So now I've got 2 groups here. I'm going to go -1 with the scale. And I'm going to snap the group to the other. Whoa! Easy there, Maya. Hold your horses.
Shift the control.
And I'm going to snap it to the other side. I don't know if this is going to work. Let me see. It might. Or it might end in tears. Freeze transformations, scale, freeze transforms. Yeah, that did work. Okay, so to get the other side, right, I'm going to select my hip joint, or my hip control, sorry. Hip control, hip FK control that we made, right? And I'm going to press up so that I have the group, right? So I grab the top control, press up so I have the group of it, right? So if I move that, it's going to move everything under it, right? Beautiful. What I want to do is I want to hit Control D, which will duplicate the group. I'm going to change my scale to -1, which will flip everything. So if we've shaped any of those, like I shaped the knee, and I've got the inverse shape for the other side, I'm going to snap that to the other leg. Right? So now it's on the other leg. It's a mirror copy of this one. And then I'm going to go to Modify, Freeze Transformations, and I'm just going to freeze the scale. I'm going to say Freeze Transform. So now what I've got is I've got a duplicate of the other side. And because I freeze just the scale is 1, everything else is zeroed out. This rotates the way it's supposed to. if I select both of these,
Did you parent them all to each other? Yeah.
I did do that, yes, I did parent them.
Parent. Oh yeah.
So now what I need to do is rename this side and change the color of it. So I'm going to select my bottom one
So
here.
you duplicated the left hip FK to the right side.
I duplicated not the
Control
hip, the control group
Right,
of it. So
control
not the
group.
control curve,
So
but the
it
group.
copies all.
I duplicated that, inverted the x-axis, so I made the x-axis -1, which flipped everything.
Right.
Then I held V and snapped it to the other leg.
Okay.
And then I froze just the scale of it, which made the scale back to 1, but kept the shapes the way they were. So I want to rename these things in here. So I'm going to have to go into this and expand this, and basically go in, and any place there's an L, make an R.
Watch, the new version of Maya is gonna have it so you can just replace all of them.
Maybe. That would be awesome. And you know what? There may be an easier way to do this, but this is the way I'm doing it. So sometimes I don't do it the best way, but I do it the way that I know works. So if anybody, if that ever happens, if you've got an easier way to do something, or you know of an easier way to do it, feel free to shout it out, and we'll adjust the workflow to reflect that. Because like I said, I've been using Maya since 1998. And I'm sure things are different now than it used to be. Yes, it was. It was still called Maya. It was originally a Power Animator from a company called Alias. And then Wavefront bought it, and then it was Alias Wavefront, and then it was Maya. And then it's Maya, Alias Wavefront for a long time. And then they went, it was version 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 7.5, then 8, then 8.5, then 2010, I think. And then 2011, 2012. Yep.
Backing up a few steps after you parented them all to the hip, did you parent them to the cog, or did you just leave them?
No, I didn't parent them to the cog.
And then after that, you duplicated them to the other side?
Yeah.
And you just did that by Control D?
Control D, and then I didn't grab each one of them. I grabbed the top node there, the top control, and then I pressed up to get the group, which will move everything underneath it.
Or couldn't you just select the group out of the outliner?
I could have.
And then you just press Control D?
Yep.
And
then I changed the scale, the X scale to -1.
What if my X scale's not 0? Is that screwed?
No, your X scale shouldn't be 0, because then you won't be able to see it in that scale. Your
Okay.
scale should always be 1.
Oh no, what if it's like 0.58?
That's not good. Something's wrong. You probably scaled it, instead of scaling the curves, you probably scaled the thing itself.
Well,
right.
it only does that when I press up, though. If I just grab the top, the hip curve,
That's 0.
But
the group isn't that 1, is it?
Yeah, so if I press up.
So something, when you got the shape of that, you probably grabbed the thing and just scaled it with this, rather than, remember when I said don't do that? That's probably what you did.
That probably is what.
That's my guess. Alright, so I need to change colors. Yes?
Yeah, I can't change the colors.
You can't change the colors?
They stay below.
Oh, I had that problem too. I had to unparent each one separately in order to change the color.
Mine's working fine.
Can I just zero out the scales of all these and it'll be cool?
Yeah, maybe. Try it. Save it before you do it. Actually, don't save it before you do it, because if it doesn't work, you have to do it again anyways.
No, I'm saving it.
Alright, so I've got my FK controls. These work. These work. These are zeroed out. These are zeroed out. They're named. They're colored. Oh, I never made a pelvis control. Let's do that too before I forget. Create circle. There we go. I'm going to press the, and now I'm going to select the pelvis, and I'm going to press P, and I'm going to zero this out, and it's going to snap to the pelvis. That's good. And I'm going to reshape this a little bit, not with the scale. See this right here? Not with that. Don't do that. Do this. Select by component type, grab the verts, and now you can do whatever you want to them. It's not going to break anything. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to maybe make this a cool shape so that I know that it's not just a standard thing. So I'm going to bring this up so that I know it's the pelvis.
Is Is there any way to combat what I screwed up, or should I just make new curves?
You may need to make new curves. It depends on how badly it's screwed up. That doesn't help, does it? I have to look at it and see, but I'll look at it in a second. Alright, so here's the pelvis. I'm going to call this pelvis control. Right? And I'm going to unparent it, Shift P. And then I'm going to change the color. I'm going to change the color to I kind of want to say yellow, but it's the same color as the other thing, and I might get confused. So I'm going to change the color to
You did pink last time.
pink. That's cool. Oh, so now I did unparent this. I need to do what now? What should I do to this to get this to zero out?
Duplicate it.
Duplicate it.
Into itself.
Put it itself.
Yes, duplicate. Put it inside of itself.
That sounds
Delete
gross.
that shape. I know, doesn't it? It can be gross, but it can also be fun. I'm gonna put group control. There we go. This is zeroed out. Awesome. Now the last thing I want to do tonight is I want to parent my hips to my pelvis, my FK. So I want to go up and select the group, and then select the pelvis and press P. Do this. Press up to get the group. Select the pelvis. Press P. Then I want to parent the pelvis to the cog. So I'm going to select the pelvis. Press up to get the group. Select the cog. Press P. So now, what? Up moves it up the chain. So basically, when I press up, this is what happens. So the question was, what does up do? It's up dog. What's up, dog? No, what's up with you? So when I select this, right, this curve, right, let me frame this. So when I select this curve, it's selecting this. When I press up, it moves up the outline. So see this right here? Watch this right here. When I press up, it goes up the chain. I can keep pressing up, and it'll go all the way up until it gets to the top node, and then it won't do anything else. So if you're working with a rig and you need to get all the way up the hierarchy, you can just select it. They call that pick walking, right? Because you're picking something and you're walking up the chain. I don't know, that's just what they call it. So I've got my cog that moves this stuff around. Awesome. I've got a whole bunch of controls that don't do nothing.
So you want the pelvis control to be parented into the
Yeah, because I want the, actually,
to the
do
cog
I want
control.
that? Do I want that? No, I should, yeah, I do want that, because when I move the cog, I want to move everything. No, but I can also move the pelvis and move it independent of the cog. So yeah, I do want that.
You want the pelvis control to be
I want the pelvis to control to be parent to the cog, yes.
to the cog.
Mm-hmm. So that when you move the cog, it moves the pelvis, but not the other way around.
Pelvis control.
All right, I feel as though I've taught the crap out of this class tonight. If you feel differently, let me know, and I will answer any questions you have. If somebody missed the class tonight or left early, and they ask you guys what we did, just laugh at them, and then tell them whatever you want to tell them. Doesn't matter to me. They should have been here. For next week, finish what was supposed to be due tonight that we said we're going to take a little more time on, right? So the other legs, finish those for next week. Next week, what we'll do is we'll finish this off, right, with the pretty much everything we did the first half of class tonight, but we'll also add the scale control so that we can globally scale this, and it'll scale the mesh and the rig, and everything will work. All right? The last thing I wanted to talk about was there's a question about how we set up the group for the IK. So you guys, this is due next week, right? So we've got the switch and all this stuff, right? So how we set up the group for the IK was, so you've got your ankle effectors, right? So we had IK that went according to that diagram that I drew over there, right? You've got an IK chain that goes from the hip down to the ankle, and then from another one that goes from the ankle to the ball, and then from the ball to that last joint, whatever you end up calling it, whether it's ball toe, whatever you want to call it, right? So you take those three effectors, right, those three IK handles, and you group them, and you call it left foot, L foot. Then you take that and you group it again, and that's called heel pivot. Then you group it again, it's toe pivot. Then you group just the ankle and ball, and you make that ball pivot, and then your L ball end effector is just inside of this toe pivot. So if I unexpand that, this ball end, the end of this is under the toe pivot. These two are inside of this thing called ball pivot. And what that allows you to do is once you have these grouped like this, you can move the pivot point like we did in the diagram over there, right? And that allows you to set up your set-driven key so that the foot pivots from the right position, right? Any questions about anything before we watch cat videos? Awesome. Cat videos it is. You know what? One time I had somebody in a class that failed the class because they didn't show up a lot, and they told Jason that we watched too many cat videos. So he pulled the grades and he saw that like most of the people in the class had A's or very high B's, and one person had an F. And yeah, that was the story of the cat video.
Didn't work out well.
Blew up in their face. Anyway, let's go. This is the if you like to watch wacky videos, right? You don't want to wait every week to see Tosh.0. You don't want to hear him talk about it. You can just go to wimp.com. Every day there's like a couple of videos. So how about the dog after spending the whole day at the park? Need an air horn to wake her up. Now I have diabetes. That was too sweet. All right. How about Lion King voiceover session?